How's it going, everyone? It's Avi from Weather Sponge 1000, and in this video, we're going to focus on the next major severe weather that's expected to impact the Midwest as well as potentially portions of the Southeast later during the week. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. So let's begin by taking a look at the forecasted radar from the GFS computer model, and here's how everything looks right now. We do have a significant jet stream dip that's dipping far southward into the northeast, where we're seeing temperatures well below average right now here in northern New Jersey. It just felt very cold, very windy today, and it's expected to continue a little bit into tomorrow before we see a little bit of a warm up as we begin to see this this peak in the jet stream move further eastward. And taking a look further westward into the United States, you see that temperatures are warmer than average. We do have a little bit of a ridge bringing a strong southerly flow, and that's allowing warmer than average temperatures dominate right now for the Midwest, and that's expected to continue until this trough comes through the Pacific Northwest, which will be the same trough that will lead to our next severe weather threat in the Midwest, where large hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes are certainly in the realm of possibilities. And I'd say actually they're likely at this point, as it seems like both of the two main computer models are leaning towards some sort of severe weather threat occurring by right around the Friday to Saturday time frame, which is definitely something to be aware of. We're going to see there's going to be a small jet stream dip moving inland into the Pacific Northwest, and that's going to allow just enough instability, just enough convection, and just enough lift in the atmosphere to where we're going to see the low pressure system develop and drop down to a pressure down to the 980s, which will be quite powerful, where we do see this storm pressures drop down to 984 millibars. And you see that while there isn't a significant amount of cold air dipping far southward, it's enough to induce enough lift in the atmosphere. And since we're seeing a strong southerly flow that's coming straight off of the Gulf of Mexico, that's bringing a lot of that moist air further northward, it's going to allow for a lot more convection and a lot more water vapor for the atmosphere to work with. And since we're going to see so much lift in the atmosphere, that water vapor has nowhere to go but upward aloft into the atmosphere for a major severe weather threat to occur, where a lot of latent heat will be released in the upper levels of the atmosphere, inducing a severe weather threat. And you see that this low pressure system is quite strong at 992 millibars. You typically don't see low pressure systems, at least mid-latitude cyclones, that strong during the spring months, unless it's maybe a tropical cyclone or during very early in the very late in the winter season. But we're gonna see this low pressure system drop down to 990 millibars, which is definitely quite strong, and we're gonna see just enough instability and just enough of northerly flow associated with the slow for a severe weather threat to occur. If we were to take a look at the convective available potential energy levels, you see that there's going to be just enough for a lot of lift to occur to induce thunderstorm activity. We do see that the convective available potential energy levels by the Friday time frame could peak up to 4,000 joules per kilogram, which is just a lot of that's just a very strong upward motion in the atmosphere. The air molecules are extremely buoyant at that level, and as a result, we're going to see just extremely in an area of extremely low pressure along the surface, which will allow for damaging winds, large hail, of course, as associated with just a very strong upward motion in the atmosphere, forcing a lot of the rain droplets upwards into the cooler areas of the atmosphere. And also tornadoes are likely as a result of stronger than usual wind shear that's induced by how much lift there is and how much latent heat is going to be released at the higher levels of the atmosphere, creating just a very strong sheared environment in the Midwest, which is definitely something to keep in mind. If we were to take a look at how the winds will look like between the surface level, mid levels, and upper levels of the atmosphere. So if I were to show you guys during this frame how the winds will look like, you're going to see that there's a stark contrast when it comes to wind direction, because you see that Along the surface, the winds are coming from the the southeast, while in the upper levels of the atmosphere, they're primarily coming from the west. And in the mid levels, we see the wind shift as well before it reaches the upper levels of the atmosphere. And when we see wind direction change with height that rapidly, that creates a very strong enhanced risk of tornadic activity in the Midwest associated with this low pressure system. Now, there's still days to go before we could really iron out how significant this tornado outbreak will be. At this point, I don't expect it to be an extreme tornado outbreak, but I'd say tornadoes are certainly likely associated with this low pressure system. How significant it is at this point, I'd say there's a moderate risk of tornadoes, not necessarily very extreme, but not necessarily non-existent either. We need to wait and see how much wind shear there will be by the time we reach the Friday timeframe to really determine how significant that tornado threat will be. We also need to determine how strong this low pressure system will be, because that in turn will determine how strong the northerly flow will be, and that will determine how much instability there is for a more significant and widespread severe weather threat to occur. And this might not only affect areas in Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas. This could maybe extend further east, where we do see a low pressure system move eastward. And if there's just enough unstable air throughout the Midwest and Southeast, we could maybe see that severe weather outbreak shift a little bit further eastward. I'd say it's still less likely that it will be anywhere near as significant as what you're going to experience in Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, as well as Iowa, but it's still at least something to be aware of further eastward. And behind it, this strong northerly flow could induce our next severe weather threat in Texas later next week, where we do see another low pressure system develop, and we do see some severe thunderstorms spawn right around Texas. So it's definitely something to be aware of this week. I'd say severe weather is likely, so make sure to pay very close attention to that throughout the Midwest. And to really determine how significant the tornado, hail threat, as well as damaging wind threats will be associated with the low pressure system, we just need to wait and see how much of a jet stream dip we're going to see. And I'd say we're going to really realize it by the time the low pressure system comes ashore. I'd say right around 24 to 48 hours from now. That's when we'll really get certainty regarding how much severe weather there will be. So make sure to pay close attention and stay tuned over the next day or two. And in case of the Midwest, I'd say prepare in case of a tornado threat, because it's certainly possible, and make sure to be prepared for damaging winds and a high risk of large hail as well throughout the Midwest. So make sure to keep that in mind. Now, take a look at what the National Weather Service is forecasting when it comes to where the worst of severe weather will be. It's expecting that the National Weather Service is expecting the worst of severe weather to be located somewhere in between Kansas and Nebraska, right along the border, where we do have an enhanced risk. A slight risk just outside of it, but still a slight risk is, I'd say, more in line with a moderate risk of severe weather. So don't underestimate it just because there's a slight risk, and then marginal outside of it, as it does seem like the severe weather will be significant as far east or westward of the center area where this worst severe weather is occurring. Now, taking a look forward, we do have a severe weather risk day 4, day 5, day 6 associated with this next low pressure system moving through. So that's another thing to keep in mind for into next week, that we could see another severe weather right behind this one. Now, taking a look at where I'm expecting the worst severe weather, in the red is where I'm expecting the worst severe weather. I'd say significant tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds are likely. Outside of it, I'm expecting a moderate risk of severe weather, not as high because the amount of unstable air won't be as high, but there's still a pretty good chance of at least receiving damaging winds and large hail associated with more isolated severe thunderstorms. So make sure to keep that in mind and stay safe and prepared throughout the Midwest West later during this week. But anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. And make sure to follow my social medias down below as well. And I hope you guys all have a great day, a good night, whenever you're watching this.